Thanks for that.
Senator Ludlam, we'll go to you then.
Thanks, Chair. Maybe in similar vein, what do the proportions look like if we go back to 2001 in terms of budget and staffing for the agency?
Sorry, Senator, I'm having trouble.
Might be that the mic's not on.
Yeah.
Hello, broadcasting. Mr. Irvine, what would the funding and staffing allocations for the agency look like if we compared your budget with the financial year 2001?
I'd have to get that figure. I don't have that figure.
Is it roughly 4- or 5-fold expansion? Is that kind of rough order of magnitude?
I've got it back to 2005. 2005, 2006.
That'll do for a baseline for the purposes of the discussion.
Roughly 175 million at that time.
Okay. I think before, based on the discussion that you just had with Senator Brandis, you're up to 328 now?
This year?
Yeah.
2011,
12.
13 is 337, I think.
337. Doubling, roughly. How about staff?
Just give me a moment.
No trouble.
Senator Kerry Hartland, Deputy Director General. I've only got the staffing figures back to 2007, but it was around 1,300 at that stage.
Okay. Look, not to detain us here too much further, but I wonder if you couldn't provide us with some figures on notice for 2001, because I suspect we'll find that the order of magnitude increase is quite severely higher 12 years later.
I'm absolutely certain that that is the case, Senator,
yeah.
And entirely explicable in terms of the need of governments of the day to respond to a new and very substantial threat.
Yeah. How, for the purposes of this discussion about resourcing, which Senator Brandis has pursued fairly exhaustively, do the resources, sticking with budget and staffing at the moment, of ASIO compare with the height of the Cold War, say 1983, just as an example?
Well, making all sorts of allowances for inflation and everything else, I imagine that they're substantially more. But you've got to remember that in 1983, ASIO was essentially a small single-issue organisation. It was not dealing with threats to the lives and safety of Australians that subsequently emerged in the late 1990s and in the first decade of this century.
You wouldn't concur that national security threats to Australia at the height of a Cold War nuclear-armed standoff between two superpowers, in which Australia was intricately enmeshed, that the security threat to Australians at the time was much higher then than it is now?
No, I don't. I don't subscribe to that view at all. I think the nature of threats changes, and during the Cold War, there was one form of security threat dealt with by ASIO as opposed to all of the rest of government, which essentially related to espionage and sabotage. Today, we have similar levels of concern about espionage and sabotage as we had then. The details will differ, but in principle we have similar concerns. But today also we now have very substantial concerns about terrorism, which in a sense represents a more direct threat to individual Australians and the lives of Australians than some of the wider issues of the Cold War, which were being managed in a whole variety of other ways.
All right, I think this would be a conversation worth exploring in a bit more detail later, because I don't necessarily accept your position there. But I'll move on. I'm just wondering, Mr. Irvine, if there's a reason why you didn't mention the issue of the apparent or the alleged lifting of the floor plans for your new building in your opening statement, or perhaps you did and I missed it.
Look, on that subject, the Prime Minister and the Attorney have already made it very, very clear that we are not going to comment on intelligence matters and operational intelligence matters, neither to confirm nor deny. because for all the well-known reasons.
Well, we've had these sort of exchanges a fair number of times since you first started coming to these. Mr. Irvine, this was screened on Four Corners. It would appear then that the only voice that's really been absent in the debate since this was broadcast to the whole country is yours.
And that is, in one sense, a frustrating element of my job, but it's a necessary element of my job, that we incur all sorts of risks if intelligence operational matters are aired in public. Can I just assure you, though, that I am satisfied that the security of the ASIO building is and will be meeting the very, very high standards that are required of a building of that nature.
Okay. Is it reasonable to say that ASIO's information security protocols and internal procedures are probably among the most stringent of any government agency in the country?
Necessarily, yes.
I would have thought so.
There are a few other agencies as well.
Okay, but that'd all be in the Australian intelligence community sort of tier?
Mostly.
I would have thought so. Mr. Irvine, is ASIO, I believe you're on the record as supporting a national data retention regime in which all Australians' private telecommunications exchanges would be stored for a period of up to 2 years?
Our organisation has made submissions to the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security to that effect, yes.
Yeah, okay. If ASIO is not able to keep track of the floor plans of its $600 million building, how can we trust intelligence, security and policing agencies to maintain the records of the entire Australian population for a period of 2 years?
That's a very neat way of trying to, if I may say so, of trying to get me to comment on an operational intelligence and security matter,
Not
which
at
I
all.
can't really do. I've given you an assurance that the ASIO building is of a very of the highest security order, and I am confident of that. And I would expect that that confidence should be reflected in the confidence of the Australian public for ASIO to maintain, as it has always maintained, the security of the information it holds, including the security of the information it holds on Australian individuals.
Some of the information that you hold has been broadcast by Four Corners as being allegedly in the hands of Chinese hackers. So it's not.
And again, I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay. Okay. Last night, in a different portfolio session, it was revealed that an agency within the portfolio responsibility of the Attorney-General is filtering online content from viewing by Australians. Is ASIO that agency?
Number 10. Sorry, could you ask that question again, Senator?
I was referred last night by Senator Conroy from the communications hearings to this committee because apparently ASIO has participated in a meeting on the 22nd of May convened by the Broadband Department to discuss the use of Section 313 notices to block internet content from being viewed in Australia. And it was revealed that an agency in this portfolio was also using these notices to block internet content. Is ASIO that agency or not?
Senator, I'm not going to confirm a particular incident, again, under our confirm and deny policy. But it is open to ASIO to use or to seek under ministerial direction to use the Section 313. And if you ask me when whether or under what conditions I would seek action under Section 313, my immediate response would be that it would be something that was a significant and probably relatively immediate threat to security and lives.
To me, that doesn't sound like a reason to block content. So we had a bit of explanation, which was quite helpful from the Federal Police this morning, where they were explaining how they used to use these notices to knock out sites that were firing malware into.
Well, I think given ASIO's responsibilities, you could draw your conclusions that if we were to use it, the immediate example would come to mind would be an extreme terrorist site that was. Well, in my case, I believe it would have to be exercising a very, very significant and immediate influence.
Approximate threat.
The question, I mean, the other issue about blocking is, in the terrorist area, is what do you actually block?
Oh, I could put that question to you. We could have this discussion all day. If you want to, in about 15 minutes or probably 15 seconds online, you could find the manufacturing instructions for putting a nuclear weapon together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of material online that arguably breaks various forms of local and international law. Is ASIO blocking that kind of content to Australian users?
Look, the answer is no. But if we felt a need to, the Section 313 is available to us.
All right, that's certainly my reading of the definitions under the TIA Act as well. I believe you might have just breached your long-standing commitment to neither confirm nor deny anything. Have you just denied that ASIO has or is using these notices to block content?
I'm not confirming or denying that.
You came awfully close to it just then.